You know, sometimes you just get kind of a mishmash of information, but there are things that you think people would like to know. Well, that's what we're doing today. We're going to look into Reddit. We're going to look into my saved files. Yeah, I'm going to show you my secrets. Well, just some of them. Well, hello, my silky friends. So today I am opening, does somebody have a drum roll? The Delphi file of things that I have picked up in the last week or so. So let me figure out how we get there. Okay, I saw this posted, and I actually took the poster's name off of it because I swiped it from his Facebook profile, and I'm not going to divulge how I found that information. We're going to start with the light things, and this may not be any kind of bombshell, but I did find it interesting. This was by Sergeant Kim Riley in May of 2019, just weeks after the second sketch was released. Okay, this is not in the very beginning. And so he says, still think the Allen tip was lost. And in this, you can see that Sergeant Riley was saying that someone may have already interviewed him. I'm not going to say they have or have not, but there's a possibility that that has happened, that Richard Allen has been on their radar for a long time, and maybe he was making reference to that. Or like someone suggested, the conservation officer may have said, hey, I interviewed a guy like years ago that said he was there and he was parked at the CPS building and he was wearing these kind of clothes. What did y'all do with that report? And that may be true. They're not going to tell you, but we lost it. We don't know who he is. But truly, I don't really buy that. In a small town like that, that conservation officer would have, I am sure, gone into the CVS and said, hey, that's that guy, right? I don't know. That's my theory. The more I look into it, the more confused I get. You know that sometimes I do not think that he's guilty and other times I do. The more I see from other people, the more I wonder if he was involved in some way. I'm just going to tell you, I cannot wait for the trial to start because I think if he is involved in any way, he is going to roll on the people that were with him. That's some information I can't wait to come out. All right, let's go to the next thing. Now, this is from a website called Actus Reus. It is from CBS 4 Indiana article, and it said Lazenby wouldn't go into specifics about forensic evidence in the case, although he did say investigators had requested that DNA evidence be fast-tracked. Well, of course you would, and this is back in 2017, February 23rd. So that was interesting, and this is from an interview. On February 18th, just a day later, the Wish TV 8 article says, Carroll County Sheriff Tobe Lazenby is clearing up some misconceptions about the Delphi double homicide case released by other media outlets on Friday. Lazenby said he has never confirmed DNA evidence was recovered in this case. That ain't what you said yesterday. I mean, I got a bad memory, but my heavens, I think I could remember most of what I said in an interview the day before. But let's go on. Now, this is in August of 2017. We have somebody here to clear this up. Sergeant Jerry Holman says, this is again to a CBS 4 interview, at every crime scene you are going to have DNA. We are still working on identifying all of the DNA that we have there. There's DNA. There's not DNA. Yeah, there's DNA. We don't know whose it is. Y'all, no wonder this case hasn't been solved. And I think the problem with the DNA comes from the searchers, okay? You remember there were two groups that found the girls. Some of them were family members. And so now when you have people who have been all over the scene, you don't know if that DNA, because the scene wasn't secure, was that DNA there from one of these searchers, family, whatever? What kind of DNA is it? You know, we've heard cat hairs, we've heard animal hairs, and then the DNA just disappears and reappears. Poof! I don't know. I just thought this was interesting going back. So I've got this in my files. Now let's go a little bit deeper. A female witness, C, chose to publicly comment on a Facebook post written by a family member of the victim discussing how she was on the trail that day shortly after the girls. So she, and it says C, but we all believe this to be Cheyenne. If you don't know who that is, then, I mean, it's not that important. This will come up in trial if they call eyewitnesses. She says, I even walked all the way across the bridge and back. I only saw a guy when I first got there and another couple once I got on the bridge. I didn't see the girls at all. I also didn't take the trail that leads to the right, only took the trail that led to the bridge. So she sees a guy, we assuming this is Bridge Guy, aka Richard Allen, and then she gets to the bridge. Once she gets on the bridge, she sees people under the bridge. There are all kind of people that said they were there, they saw this person, they saw that person. The problem is, if there was anybody on the bridge in this, or under the bridge, in this time frame, those girls would have been seen. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. I can't remember a witness off the top of my head that saw Abby and Libby out there. She didn't, and she was there during the right time frame. So the plot thickens. So let's go to Twitter for this one. Alexis McAdams, and this is back in 2017. This is on 2/28. Crime scene tape still up more than 2 weeks after Abby and Libby were unalived. Each day without an arrest, police go back to search for clues. If you'll notice, you have a picture of the crime scene tape, and then you have to the bottom right, you see like a picture of the general area that they were found in, and you can see the terrain. You know, it's pretty steep there. But if you will look at the top right photo, and I'm going to blow it up for you. All right, this is the view from the bank toward the Monon High Bridge. Now, tell me, can you see the bridge? Guess what? People on the bridge could see over there. And because this is February, there are no leaves on the trees. Now, could you see that in the summertime? I kind of doubt it. I haven't been over there in the summer, so I don't know. But I would think with all these trees, the view would be obscured. However, in February, the trees are naked. There you go. Am I going to get in trouble for saying naked on YouTube? I said it again. I guess we'll find out. So by this picture alone, you can see, especially if someone were under the bridge, walking around there on the bridge, you would have been able to see Libby in her tie-dyed shirt, right? That would have stuck out in all this brownness of February. Yeah, I know brownness isn't a word. I made it up. But you get what I'm saying, right? So that alone was very disturbing to me. So next, let's go to Reddit. And what I found to be very interesting, yeah, I got it. What I found very interesting about this one is that it comes from the British Journal of Criminology. So let's take a look at what this Redditor said, excerpts from the book. The Ron Logan search warrant affidavit revealed that the FBI believed Abby and Libby's bodies were moved and staged, which we've heard numerous times. Studies suggest that when staging occurs at a murder scene, there is some sort of connection between the victim and the offender, usually familial. Now, let's just stop here for a second. Let me make you understand I am not accusing the families. This is just standard, okay? When you have a minor who is unalived, they look to the family first. So this is, of course, normal, right? Therefore, according to experts, staging is a way for the perpetrator to put distance between the victim and themselves, since their close relationship leads them to be a logical suspect. The offender's aim is to confuse the investigators. Imagine that. Honey, I don't think anybody needed help with confusion in this case. Anyway, they tried to confuse the investigators by making them believe that someone else committed the crime. So let's look at motives. According to famed FBI profiler Roy Hazelwood, if the unaliving is staged, The investigator is tasked with determining the motive for the original act and the staging itself. So what they're saying is it makes it more complicated if it's staged, because you have to not only figure out what the staging is about, but you have to figure out the motive for the real perp, okay? What were they really thinking that they're trying to hide? And again, this would be a big red flag as to why you need the FBI or whomever outside agencies to help you. In a little town like Delphi, you are not probably, I'm assuming, trained deeply for this kind of thing. Number 1, greed. Let's look into this. The desire for money or property in greed-motivated unalivings, the body is always left in the open to necessitate discovery, and the murder weapon is brought to and then removed from the scene. Now, this was new information to me. If greed was the motive, then the bodies are left out in the open to be discovered, and the weapon brought to the scene and then taken away from the scene. I would really like for someone to explain to me why greed as a motivation for unaliving someone would make you do that. I really don't get that part, but let's go on. Revenge. Woo! Anger and revenge motivated homicides are most often staged as an, well, I can't say any more of that. Has to do with assault. Now, let's look at this. Staging is a primary means of concealing the true perpetrator of the crime, who most often has a close relationship with the victim. Now, it doesn't have to be family, but it does have to be a close relationship. That kind of makes you change your thoughts on who the likely perp is. Fittingly, if contacted by the police, the stager will attempt to steer the investigation away from themselves by being overly cooperative or extremely distraught. Based on this information, this is something that makes me look at RA and say, oh, I don't know. Because according to the family, they didn't know him. As far as anybody knows, Libby Nabby didn't know him. He didn't try to steer the investigation away. I mean, he came right out and said, hey, I was there during this time and this is what I was wearing. But no, I saw some other girls, but I didn't see those girls. On one hand, it looks very bad, Richard. It really does. On the other hand, you're like, man, that takes some nerve to get up there and say that if you are guilty. And while we're on the subject of RA, I do think that this current situation with him being in a bad place, moving to another place, would someone potentially want him to be unalived before he got to trial? I think it's entirely possible that that is the agenda. Now, whether it's because they think he knows too much about them, whoever them are, and he's afraid it's going to come out with more investigation, that's possible. Or if they know he was involved, but not as much as some other people, let's just stop right now, because if we can put somebody in jail for this, or somebody doesn't make it to trial, then we're good. We got the perpetrator. Now, let's go back to my last video, and I'm going to read some of your comments that I found very interesting. Andre says, and this is in regards to the original photo that came out in the Pharaoh's Tribune of Bridge Guy. Yes, that photo of BG coincides with the early talk of the young witness saying the man she saw had a scarf covering the lower half of his face. And why did the early BG sketch have on a very different hat that is shown in the news photo? Too many anomalies coming in from every direction to decipher facts. There are so many discussions of this photo and video. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that just too many people have proven that that evidence has been tampered with, that it's been photoshopped, and there are so many good channels that do reviews on that. And I've said this before, I am no photo expert. But what I did find interesting is on so many discussion groups and message boards on Reddit, on just everywhere, there were so many people asking questions about, hey, what happened to the original Bridge Guy photo? In that photo, he had a stripe down his leg and he had handcuffs and a scarf around his face. Now, I heard this numerous times, and all I could say was, I don't know. I don't know if these people are just making stuff up or not, but apparently they were not, because they saw that photo as well. So yeah, I think it is very interesting. If you go and you look up photos by J. Kyle Keener, he was a photographer for actually numerous places, but that photo is attributed to him, I believe. Okay, I love this one. This was by Jinx13. Is it a normal thing for former mayors to jump on being an assistant prosecutor? Well, no, but it was on Boys on the Track, right? We know SE was part of the search on 21317, so how's that not a conflict of issue? And legally speaking, I'm not sure, but I would think that it would be. Why did it take so many years for SE to get proof of his whereabouts on 21317? These are just a few questions I have. Yeah, me too, Jinx. There's been a lot of controversy, and which is not to say that the mayor did anything wrong on that day. It's just the question has always been is if you didn't, then why can't we figure out where you were? It may be something else that he doesn't want the world to know. It has nothing to do with this. I don't know. Okay, Kay McBee said, can you imagine all the dirty secrets that will come out of Delphi when the Richard Allen trial begins? Whew, buddy. The defense has so much ammo to work with. They will need to prioritize because they won't have enough time to get all the secrets out. I agree. Again, I don't know if he's guilty or not. But do I think the defense has a lot of ammunition? I sure do. I sure do. So if he's guilty, then I hope the boys have enough ammunition as well and something that they can really prove. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to me whether he is or he isn't. I just want the truth and I want justice for these girls. But some people believe that it could have been done by one person. I do not. I just don't. I think this was a group effort. But that is just my opinion. Last one, BG Delphi sleuth Kay Weber, the witness who spoke to the suspect, is not even in the affidavit. Go figure. Yeah, what's up with that? Okay, I believe if I'm not mistaken, she was the dog walker. Remember, she said she talked to Bridge Guy. She was out walking the dog. She had rented a house in the area. She was out there on the trails somewhere, and she was walking her dog, and she had a brief conversation with what she believes is Bridge Guy. But strangely enough, she's not mentioned in the affidavit. And even more strange is shortly after that, she just moved out of town. Like, she packed up her stuff and left. Now, does that suggest to me that she was scared? You betcha. Does she know more? Maybe for some reason they just left her out of that. Because of her fear, or I don't know. So now my question is, what do you think about some of these things? Some of them can be explained and some of them just make you go, But then that's this whole case. Let me tell you this, if you want to contact me or you want to have a discussion or you want to say something privately and you do not want anybody to know your name, you can email me at silkyandSouthern@gmail.com. I have a Discord. It is Silky Southern Tea. There's really not that many people on there, so if you want to have a conversation, then by all means join the Discord. And another place that you can message me is on Facebook Messenger. I do have Silky Southern Tea as a group. I don't post in there that often, but I do get notifications if somebody messages me, okay? So, I hope this gave you something to think about. If not, it just added to the muddled pieces in your brain, like it did me. Anyway, I hope you have a great week. I'm stealing this from Pam Frenchman. Stay safe and stay silky.